What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going through my updated Dynasty running back rankings post NFL draft. So obviously, we have draft capital, landing spots for these rookie running backs. Also, some of these other RBs, their situations have been affected. Maybe they have competition. Maybe they survived the draft and, have a better outlook moving forward. But diving into my top 30, splitting these guys up into different tiers, already posted my Dynasty wide receiver video. So check that one out after if you haven't seen it. But let's just dive right into the rankings here. And I'm going to start off in tier 1. I don't think this is going to be very controversial that these three are in here. It's Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Ashton Jeanty. I guess I'd say maybe there should be like a minor tier break after Bijan and Gibbs just because, they're proven assets. I guess there's still some chance that Jeanty could bust, but, personally, I feel like it's pretty unlikely. So in 2024, Bijan and Gibbs were actually back-to-back in points per game. Gibbs was the running back 2. Bijan was the running back 3. I think there's pros and cons for both of these guys. For Bijan, he's the one that's going to have the better usage, the larger opportunity share. I think Gibbs is going to have the more efficient production, and I think he has more receiving upside, but both are going to be producing in a similar range. I think you could have either one as your running back 1. And then for Ashton Jeanty, he gets the elite draft capital. I think the landing spot is pretty solid. Like typically if you're going to a team that, top 10 pick, that type of investment in the running back position, there's probably not going to be a lot going on around him, but they've got some decent weapons, right? Bowers, Jacoby Myers, they draft Jack Best. You have a competent quarterback in Geno Smith. So it's not like Genty's the only piece on this offense that's competent. He has great receiving upside. Obviously, we know he can do on the ground. So Ashton Jeanty, I do think he belongs in this top tier. Then moving into tier 2, I have another tier of 3 running backs. I think through the first 4 tiers, that's just how it played out. Tier 2, Amarion Hampton, Devon Achane, and Saquon Barkley. So Hampton does slide in here as my Dynasty running back 4. Now, even though him and Jeanty are back-to-back, I still think there's a pretty significant gap between the two. I just think after those top 3, you're getting into a pretty decent drop-off. But for Hampton, he gets the dream landing spot with the Chargers. He gets the round 1 draft capital. He has the 3-down skill set. And I just don't think as a team, as an organization, you spend that type of capital on the running back position without expecting to use him as the workhorse. Now, maybe there's some sort of slow start with Najee, kind of working in a committee, but they clearly think Hampton has the 3-down skills and that he can handle a very large workload for them. And for Dynasty, he's on a good offense, run-heavy team. It's a great situation. Then I have Devon Achane. Had a solid 2024, 17.6 points per game, was the running back 6. When you look at the games where just Tua was healthy, Achane was a monster. In 11 games with Tua, he averaged 22.6 PPR points per game. He led the NFL at the running back position in receptions and receiving yards. He was second in targets, and he did it with a sub 60% opportunity share. So he didn't have that monster workload, still had really solid usage, but the usage was there. He's getting the valuable touches. Didn't even have the big play upside. The efficiency didn't carry over from his rookie season, but he was getting it done as a pass catcher. The only competition they had is they added in Ollie Gordon, which is kind of an interesting fit in this backfield because typically they had just been, speed. It was Achane and Mostert. They drafted Jalen Wright last year. He didn't, get many opportunities in 2024. But then you bring in Ollie Gordon, who's this very big running back. He's not super fast, but he doesn't really have the skill set of, a running back that you would think with his size. He's not a super physical, short yardage back. He's more of a kind of a big 3rd down option. So it's an interesting fit. I wonder if they think he's a goal line back and they're going to use him, in the red zone. Maybe that takes away from Achane's touches, but I do think it's a little bit clunky. We'll see how he gets utilized. And then the last guy in this tier, Saquon Barkley, he was the running back 1 in 2024. I imagine most people favor him to be the running back 1 again this season. It really just comes down to age here. Everyone ranked above him is, 5, maybe even more years younger. And so yeah, he might be the running back 1, but I don't think his ceiling is so significantly higher than these other guys that it warrants having, 5 less years of that player on your actual roster. Now moving into tier 3, going to go Travion Henderson, Bucky Irving, and Breece Hall, all guys between 22 and 23 years old, even though Breece Hall will be 24 very shortly. For Travion Henderson, he goes early round 2 to the Patriots, and it's kind of a crowded running back room with Ramondre, Gibson, but this is legit draft capital. New coaching staff, he's clearly going to be the guy here at the running back position. I never thought he was going to be someone who was going to be a 3-down workhorse. Just not his frame, not what we saw out of him in college, but someone who can take a lot of the valuable opportunities, great receiving back, has the big play upside, elite in pass protection. Like, he's going to be getting a lot of the valuable looks that you want for fantasy. And then we have Bucky Irving here. Great rookie season, was the running back 19 in points per game at 14.4. Really broke out towards the end, like didn't have a ton of involvement early on. Then it just steadily grew and grew and grew. But over his last 4 healthy games, he averaged 20.5 points per game. The Bucs did not add to the running back room, which was huge for him. Didn't really expect it, but you never know with these day 3 running backs. Organizations can, hit on a late round pick, an undrafted guy, and still spend legit draft capital or sign someone in the offseason. They did not. It's wheels up for Bucky Irving moving forward. And then the last guy here, Breece Hall, coming off a down 2024. He was the running back 17 at 15.1 points per game. Just kind of weird vibes out of New York here with Breece Hall. It seems like there's been some trade speculation. If he did get moved, it could be fun, like a Bears landing spot would obviously be amazing, but it doesn't seem like, this new regime is as invested in him. But I still believe in the player. He's a 3-down workhorse, great pass catcher. I think in the right situation, he could be an absolute beast for fantasy. It'll just be interesting to see how the rest of this offseason kind of develops in regard to Breece Hall. And then in tier 4, I'm going to be going with Jonathan Taylor, Quinshon Judkins, and Christian McCaffrey. Pretty interesting mix of 3 different guys, just like in very different stages of their career. So we'll start off with JT. He was the running back 7 last season at 17.6 points per game. Kind of was disappointing for the vast majority of the season, and it was just an absolute monster over the last 3-4 weeks of the season. So really save that point per game number. But if you did roster him, it was pretty unlikely you had him on your roster when he was making that playoff push. He's going to be a running back on a run-heavy offense. In his 3 healthy seasons, he's been very productive, 16.9, 21.9, and 17.6 points per game. I do think his overall peak upside is just slightly capped because he's not going to catch a ton of passes, but he can hit in the efficiency department. He can hit in the touchdown department. A very solid yearly running back 1. Then I have Quinshon Judkins, and admittedly, I'm not a big Quinshon Judkins guy, but he goes early round 2 to the Browns, so he gets the draft capital. He's a big athletic running back, has 3-down potential. I think he's someone who could be a volume sponge in the NFL. And so even if I don't think he's going to be a super efficient, great real-life running back, I'm still willing to draft him in rookie drafts if he does kind of slip, because I still think there's going to be a window to move off of him. He could go out week 1 and just get a ton of opportunities, and he's instantly going to rise in value. So even though, he's not necessarily my guy, still have him here in this tier 4 area. I mean, he's 21 years old. So if I am, potentially wrong and he is this really good NFL running back, then he's just absolutely going to smash here. And then I have Christian McCaffrey, and I'm sure the CMC takes are going to be all over the place. Some people will like him at this spot. Others will, absolutely hate it. They won't touch him with a 10-foot pole. And it's obviously the injury risk. So he's had 3 seasons where he's played 7 or fewer games. He's also had 5 seasons out of 8 where he's played 16 plus. It just comes down to the upside here. Could he have another injury-riddled season? 100%. But if you get him for a healthy season, he could be a league winner for you. In his last 4 healthy seasons, he's putting up 24.1, 29.4, 21, and 24.5 points per game. I mean, a running back who at any point in their career could hit a 29 point per game season is just absurd. And so if you're a win now team, I could understand rolling with CMC, within this tier. Then moving into tier 5, going to start off this tier with another rookie here in RJ Harvey, a very old rookie, I will say, at 24 years old. He kind of surprisingly goes late round 2 to the Broncos. I really like the player, has big play upside, receiving upside. Love the fact that he's in the Sean Payton offense. It is a wide open running back room. They've just got nothing going on there, and they spent real draft capital on him. A lot of people thought it was a reach, but they are clearly in on RJ Harvey. And his age was, originally kind of a concern for me when I was looking at those dudes who are potentially going day 3, because as a day 3 running back, you need to earn the opportunity. And then if you're 24, by the time you earn it, we're heading into next year like a Tyron Tracy, and you're 25, you're already getting to kind of a sketchy age in a lot of people's minds for dynasty running backs. I think age is less of a concern now because he could just come in, produce right away. And then, you're in the James Cook, Chase Brown is 25. Like that's the range you're kind of getting into, which, still could carry a lot of value for Dynasty. So RJ Harvey here to kick off tier 5. Then I have guys in a similar age range, a couple who I just mentioned, James Cook, Chase Brown, and Josh Jacobs. James Cook was the running back 11 in points per game last season. It seems like there's, some sort of contract situation here that needs to be worked out. I will say, though, if you roster James Cook, I feel like leaving the Bills would be bad because he's not someone who's going to command a ton of volume. He's not going to be like a 70+% opportunity share guy. And on the Bills, he has touchdown upside. He has the big playability. The efficiency is going to be there. So you have to be hoping he sticks around. For Chase Brown, he was a huge winner from the draft. I thought it was possible they went day 2 running back. Did not think it would be a good move, but they were talking to a lot of the running backs in that range. Fortunately for Chase Brown and I think the Bengals, they pass on a running back there. They get day 3 Taj Brooks, but if they like Chase Brown, he's not going to be eating into his usage a ton. And we saw in the 8 games without Zach Moss, Chase Brown was a monster for fantasy, 20.6 PPR points per game. It's wheels up for him this year, with no real competition coming in. And then the last guy in this tier, Josh Jacobs, put up 17.2 points per game in 2024, was top 6 in touchdowns, red zone touches, and rushing yards. So the volume's going to be there. He's going to have the touchdown upside. Didn't have the largest overall workload, 76% opportunity share. It'll be interesting to see what this kind of split looks like. Marshawn Lloyd was a dude they spent a day 2 pick on last year, and he was just banged up the entire season. It'll be interesting to see if he can kind of carve out a role here. They have Savion Williams, who could potentially be a running back, but Josh Jacobs is still going to be the guy. 27 years old, you should still have a few solid years left. Continuing on with this tier, I have Kenneth Walker and Kyron Williams, both 24-year-olds, both guys entering contract years. For Kenneth Walker, it's this weird spot where he's coming off a pretty decent season, running back 12 in points per game, 16.5 points per game. And it started off really hot. He was a high-end running back 1 early on, kind of slowed down the stretch. But one of the things that I thought was really cool about his season is he saw a real uptick as a pass catcher. So his previous NFL best was 2.5 targets per game. Last year, he nearly doubled that, up to 4.8. But there are potential trade rumors. He might get moved. This is going to be his 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years. You have all the offensive turnover, at quarterback, wide receiver. It's just a new look Seahawks team, and we don't even know if Kenneth Walker is going to be a part of it. And then for Kyron Williams here, he's just this weird player that I've probably consistently been a little bit too low on. It's kind of funny because I remember week 1 of 2023, when he was kind of working into a committee with Cam Akers, I was very early to catch on. All right, this dude needs to be a priority add. He has a real opportunity to be a factor in this Rams offense. And so I felt like I was quick to catching on to him. But ever since then, I've probably been, much lower than consensus. That season, I thought he was an interesting trade target early on in the year. I was kind of hesitant to draft him last year because I was worried about, Blake Corum kind of working in. And so far he's kind of proven me wrong where he continued dominating in 2023, had a ton of usage. Last year, Blake Corum was a complete non-factor, but I'm still going to be a little bit lower on him, I think. And it just comes down to the fact that I feel like the floor could just come out from under him at any point because he is entering a contract year. And the Rams back-to-back years have spent decent picks on running backs. Blake Corum in round 3 last year, Jarquez Hunter in round 4 this year. And if I'm the Rams, I'm not confident that they're willing to sign him to a legit extension here, right? Give him his 2nd contract. I feel like they used him a lot, kind of running him into the ground potentially. I don't know if they're going to go out and pay him when they're drafting these new running backs who could replace him. So I still think he's going to be good this year. I wouldn't expect him to have, quite as large of a workload, but who knows? I've been wrong the last couple of years. We'll see if he just keeps it rolling and then gets a big extension. If he does, this will obviously be way too low for him to be ranked. And then the last guy in this tier, I have Caleb Johnson, kind of similar to Judkins, someone who I'm probably a little bit lower on than consensus. He goes round 3 to the Steelers. It's a solid landing spot. They have a zone rushing scheme. That's, what he did in college. I think there's just the clear early down role that he could walk right into. Pretty much what Najee was, right? You have Jalen Warren, kind of 3rd downs, change of pace back. I just think the overall upside is lacking here for Caleb Johnson, where don't know about the receiving upside. I don't think he's a flawless prospect as a runner. And so I think he's going to get on the field. I think he's going to have decent volume, could be a volume sponge. And so if I'm someone who is drafting him, I'd probably be drafting him to pivot. if I'm being honest, but I still think he belongs, in this tier. You got some guys with some uncertain situations. He could be a very solid, potential back end running back one for the foreseeable future. And then looking at tier 6, kind of getting into an interesting mix. We got some veterans, some dudes kind of in the middle of their career, and then some very young options. We're going to start off with Derrick Henry. He was the running back 4 in points per game last season at 19.8. Seems like every year we're saying, all right, he just had a huge year, but how many does he have left? I'm still going to pose that question, right? If he had one more big year and then was done, that wouldn't be shocking to me. I might be making videos here in 3 years, listing Derrick Henry here and saying, I keep saying this, but, he just keeps producing. I don't know. The dude's a unicorn. If you have him on your roster, you just continue to play him and pretty much ride him until the wheels fall off. Then we're going to go with Chuba Hubbard here. Just an interesting player, got an extension last year, had a really solid season, 16.1 points per game, was the running back 13. The contract, I kind of dug into it here. So he's signed for 4 more years, but they have an out after this season, and I think it's only like $4.5 million in dead cap. So he could potentially be tied to the Panthers for like pretty long term. I mean, pretty much until he's like 30 years old, or they could just be out on him after this year. That is my understanding of the contract. For this specific season, they brought in some competition. Rico Dowdle, free agency, Trevor Etienne in the draft, Jonathan Brooks, not going to be playing this year. And so it's an interesting spot because Dave Canales has liked to use a workhorse. We saw that with Rachaad White with the Buccaneers. We saw that with Chuba Hubbard this past year. But then, they extended him, but they're also bringing in some competition, right? Like Rico in free agency, you draft Etienne, who's kind of long-term. It could also mean they're just completely out on Jonathan Brooks, which would be understandable, 2 ACL tears on the same knee. I just think he's in a tough spot where he has a really good year. All of a sudden, he's going to be there 3 more seasons, locked in running back 1. You feel great about it. If he struggles and this turns into a committee, like a 3-headed monster, and then they're out on him, then all of a sudden his value's tanked. So I think this is like a fair middle ground, but I do think the range of outcomes for his value heading into next season are pretty wide. Then the next 2 running backs I have here, both rookies, both early round 4 picks. I have Bashal Tutin and Cam Scatabo, both older prospects also, both 23 years old. I think Tutin gets the better landing spot. He goes to the Jaguars. Now there's some competition, right? Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, but like I've talked about with some of these other running backs, like Bashal Tutin is this new regime's guy that they've chosen, right? They inherited the team with Etienne and Bigsby. They spent their own draft capital on Bashal Tutin. I'm sure they have a role for him. It's tough to not get excited about him in a Liam Cohen offense when you look at his explosiveness, his big playability, his receiving upside. He's a great athlete. What Liam Cohen was able to do last year with Bucky Irving, I think it's pretty fun. And then for Cam Scatabo, I think he's going to have the opportunity to be the lead back. We saw Tyrone Tracy come in last year as a day 3 rookie, earn the running back 1 spot. Now you've got these 2 day 3 guys, kind of squaring up here for that spot. It's probably going to be somewhat of a committee, but if I had to pick one to win out, I probably would pick Cam Scatabo. So both get fun landing spots, even though they're going in round 4. And then this next grouping is just like the real veterans. Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, David Montgomery. Mixon's going to be 29 during the season. Kamara will be 30. Montgomery will be 28. Mixon and Kamara, you're kind of hoping for like 1, maybe 2 more running back 1 seasons. For David Montgomery, the ceiling is lower, barring a Jahmyr Gibbs injury, but he probably has just a couple more in him, especially like his wear and tear is probably being minimized because he's not being used like a workhorse with the Lions. Then moving into tier 7, definitely an interesting tier. This tier could have gone on longer if I wasn't just doing top 30. But we're going to start off with Tyrone Tracy, who I mentioned with Cam Scatabo. He was very old as a prospect. I think I mentioned it with RJ Harvey, 25 years old, but earned the running back 1 role last year in 13 games as a starter, averaged 13.2 points per game. He is in a potential committee situation with Cam Scatabo. And it's just going to be like, which guy can win out? It's interesting because Tracy, his calling card is probably his receiving ability, was a receiver who transitioned to the running back position. But Cam Scatabo's, a big dude, but very solid receiving back. So I just think Scatabo has the inside shot to definitely get the early down work. And then even the area where maybe Tracy would be favored, like Scatabo is still capable there. So I definitely think he's a faller from the draft, but it could have been worse. Like they could have gone day 2 and gotten Judkins, someone like that, and then all of a sudden, like, he's just clear-cut running back 2. Then I'm going to go with James Conner up next. Obviously, more of a win now option. He's 30 years old, but he was the running back 15 in points per game last year. Has kind of quietly just delivered 4 straight really strong seasons, 15 plus points per game in each of those last 4. You do have Trey Benson kind of lurking, day 2 pick from last year, but Connor was extended through 2026. Could definitely just continue racking up volume and being the running back 1 here for this Cardinals team. Couple more players, couple of 26-year-olds. We're going to start off with Brian Robinson, someone who continues to just avoid competition. It was not a strong running back room that they had last year, with B-Rob. Austin Eckler is like the 1-2 punch. And he's pretty much going to get to walk into 2025 with that exact same running back room. He's a fine, back-end RB2, high-end RB3, was the RB22 in 2023, was the RB28 in points per game in 2024. So he's going to get a lot of that early down work, not a ton of receiving upside. Touchdown upside is capped with the rushing ability of Jaden Daniels, but this is going to be a good offense. And at this point, you're just going to keep plugging him in as potential RB3, weaker RB2 flex option, and you're just going to, keep racking up those points. And then the last guy here is DeAndre Swift. Now, I don't think he's completely out of the woods just yet. He was definitely a huge winner from the draft. I think the Bears probably would have taken TreVeyon Henderson if he fell one more spot to them in the early second round. And so I did fully expect him to lose his starting job on draft day, whether that was a trade, them trading him, drafting a solid running back. I didn't feel great about DeAndre Swift. The Bears only go out and draft Kyle Monungai, who could be interesting, right? If he works his way in, impresses, but I wouldn't stamp him in to be beating out DeAndre Swift for the running back 1 spot. And so he still could get replaced, whether it's, a trade or potentially just Ben Johnson likes someone more on the roster and DeAndre Swift just isn't playing well, which he did not play well last year. But as of right now, he is slotted in to be the running back 1 for the Bears, which could be a very, very valuable role in a Ben Johnson offense. And so I do think he deserves to, just crack the top 30. But that is going to wrap it up for my updated Dynasty running back rankings. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.